How long could you survive these deadly situations? Cold, loneliness, lack of food or sleep? Your body might be tougher than you think. How long can you survive in the cold? The normal range for body temperature is between 97 and 99 degrees. Any lower and you risk hypothermia, which puts your life in danger and causes you to lose consciousness. Let me give you some context here. If you find yourself stranded in a snowstorm at night and your body temperature drops below 90 degrees, you may experience symptoms such as pale skin, loss of speech, and numbness in your hands and fingers. Your body will, of course, defend itself by constricting the blood vessels and releasing hormones to produce some heat to warm you up. If ignored and your body temperature drops below 68 degrees, it can lead to failure of the heart and breathing system, which can ultimately result in death. There are still miraculous individuals who survived very cold weather, like Anna Bogenholm, a Swedish radiologist. She was trapped under a layer of ice for 80 minutes in freezing water while skiing. Her body temperature had fallen below 56 degrees, one of the lowest body temperatures ever recorded, and she experienced a cardiac arrest. The doctors literally resurrected her without any neurological sequences or amputations. But how is it possible? Already a progressive drop in body temperatures offers more chances of adaptation. This is the case in cryogenic freezing.
Once a doctor has declared a legal death, and we have to wait for that point currently, we can begin the procedure by lifting the patient from the bed into our ice bath. We're going to cover them with ice and add water and circulate the icy water around the patient to accelerate the cooling,
where they drop temperatures very slowly to minus 238 degrees, or even closer to absolute zero, which is minus 460 degrees. But is there a deadly temperature at which you die instantly if you go all out naked? Unfortunately, I found nothing about this. It seems that the heat layer that surrounds your body forms a protective barrier. But now, if you dive into liquid nitrogen, you'll only survive 4 to 20 seconds, because the limit is much lower in a liquid. For example, in freezing water, you'll only live for 15 minutes. Of course, you can last longer in freezing water if you're prepared enough. The world record of an ice bath is 3 hours and 28 seconds. If you want to break this world record, it's going to require special breathing, training your brain to react well, and developing a special fat under your skin, which can take several years to achieve. Good luck. Can you survive without sleep? 26 years of your life will be spent doing nothing but sleeping. That's 1/3 of your life unused. So, can we optimize all this? There are productivity professionals who say that polyphasic sleep helps them sleep 4 hours a day. Well, they lie to you, but not totally. Is it possible to control how much we sleep by sleeping little at night or taking short naps, as we see in the military or even some animals? Some diseases can cause polyphasic sleep, like dementia or the simple fact of aging. Just watch your grandparents. It's not really bad for your health, but not beneficial either. Lack of sleep will cause a decrease in your productivity and creativity. On top of that, it doesn't even make you sleep less. You'll still need your 8 hours depending on each individual. Although a genetic mutation allows some people to be natural short sleepers, not respecting the hours you sleep each night can add up to 8 years to your brain's age and make it more likely that you'll have a stroke, heart attack, diabetes, or other health problems. But what's going to happen if you try to completely stop sleeping? During the first 24 hours, you'll simply be less focused, a little nervous, and exhausted. Like if you had about 0.1 grams of alcohol in your blood. After 48 hours, most people collapse. But for the purpose of this video, let's assume that you have someone to keep you awake and you made it up to 72 hours. It'll weaken your immune system. And that's when it becomes dangerous. You'll feel anxious, paranoid, and unable to do basic tasks like open or close a door. You'll also start having visual and auditory hallucinations. At this point, you have to stop the experiment, because a severe lack of sleep in the long term is always going to be fatal. How long can you survive loneliness? It may sound strange, but it's just as dangerous as smoking or being obese. A lonely person has a 30% higher chance of having a stroke or a cardiac arrest. Do you know about the 16th century forbidden experiment? The King of Scotland, James IV, sent 2 babies to a deserted island, where they would be raised by a deaf and mute woman. His purpose is to find out what is the natural language of man, or is there a divine language? It was a failure, and the babies died before they could say a word. Was it a coincidence? Or is communication a vital human need? With COVID and isolation in 2019, the number of people who have ended their days has exploded. Man is a social animal. We can't live alone. Then there's also a difference between loneliness and isolation. The first is a feeling. You can be surrounded but not yet alone. On the contrary, isolation means you're cut off from the world. In 2011, a woman was arrested by the Iranian army. After being locked up for more than a year without any human contact, she began to have hallucinations of flashing lights and shapes. Fortunately, she survived and returned home to her family. There's a lot of cases like this, because socializing actually reduces your level of internal stress. It calms you down. Otherwise, your body's in a constant fight and your immune system gets weaker. That's why a single person is twice as likely to have cancer and twice as likely to die prematurely. How long can you survive without eating and drinking? The ability of some people to go without eating for several days has always impressed me, but physiologically, it's not that impressive. Let's say you cut off any food. The first 24 hours will be difficult because your body will use your sugar reserves as energy. After that, the feeling of hunger slowly decreases as your body enters autophagy and starts eating itself by pitting in the least useful fats and muscles. But what will happen when there's no more? The body will have to look elsewhere for proteins, like in your heart and organs. When you eat 30 to 50% of your cells, you die. But how much time will it take? We tend to use the rule of 3. You can hold 30 days without eating, 3 days without drinking, and 3 minutes without breathing. But that is very approximate. People with training could manage to hold well beyond the 3 minutes with no breathing. And this is also the case for the diet. The most famous case is that of Bobby Sands, who lasted 66 days on a hunger strike. It's all a question of will, but mostly physical. It was calculated that an obese person could theoretically last 100 days without eating. In addition to having better reserves, the fat cells tend to slow down the calorie burning, which allows them to last longer. We have the case of a 456-pound Scottish man who lasted 380 days without food. Almost, because he still had dietary supplements and some small meals. However, if you stop drinking, it is a completely different thing. Holding out for more than 3 days is impossible. Between urine and sweating, the body evacuates 2 liters of water per day. Even worse if you're in full sun. The consequences are always going to be the same. Your urine will get darker, your mouth and throat dry, headaches, cramps, and many more. Since we're 60% water, our organs just can't do without it.